Next up, don't panic, but there's another election to talk about. It's not the 2020 race for president. Last week, Democrat Jay Gonzalez announced his challenge to incumbent Governor Charlie Baker in 2018. Gonzalez is a former cabinet secretary under Deval Patrick, and in that role, he oversaw the creation of the Health Connector as Massachusetts phased in universal health care. Since he left public office, he served as president and CEO of affordable health insurance provider Celticare, a position he left in December. He announced candidacy a week ago yesterday, a day we just happened to have the current governor join us on Boston Public Radio. So we asked Charlie Baker about his new challenger. Do you know Jay Gonzalez, who is now announced as an opponent? What do you think of him?
He's a good guy.
Think he'd be a good governor?
I don't think he'd be better than me. But
Jay Gonzalez joins me now. Jay, congratulations. Good to see you.
Thank you.
Assuming you don't agree with what the governor just said, why should the public essentially...
I think I'm a nice guy.
Well, no, that part, that's good. Why should the public fire him and hire you?
Because I think we need leadership here in Massachusetts. I think he's been too satisfied with the status quo.
Like
we've got lots of working families across this state that are still struggling. We need a governor who gets the fact that they need a fair shot for a better deal, and I want to offer that type of leadership.
Are you the one amongst those who are criticizing him for not being out there enough on this this travel and refugee ban put out by the President of the United States?
Yeah.
A lot of Democrats are upset about it.
Yeah, because I think it's consistent with a pattern. I don't think he's provided leadership on this issue also. I think it's really important that our governor stand up for every single person in this state. And
How has he not done that?
Long before Donald Trump, Governor Baker was ordering state police to work with federal officials to detain immigrants. He opposed Syrian refugees resettling here in Massachusetts. He was silent on transgender rights legislation until he was forced to sign it. Until he was forced to sign it behind closed doors. The fact is, when there's pressure and coaching and second chances, he gets there sometimes, but it's not leadership. And right now, with Donald Trump as our president, it is critical that we've got a leader in Massachusetts that's standing up for them.
Jay, as far as I know, he's the first Republican governor to criticize Donald Trump's candidacy. He didn't vote for Donald Trump on this immigration thing. My understanding is he joined in a lawsuit with the Attorney General. He sent this letter to the head of Homeland Security. The only thing he's not done, unless I missed something, is he didn't go to the rally in Copley Square. That's enough to say we need somebody to replace this guy?
He didn't vote for Donald Trump. He didn't vote at all in the presidential election. This is sitting on the sidelines. It's what he does in the face of a tough decision. And I think, one thing I want to mention. I was in Western Mass earlier this week and met a college student named Adam, who's a Muslim and whose parents are undocumented workers. And he wanted to know, there were other elected officials there, what are they doing for him and his family? I came out last week, the first piece of legislation I've supported is the Safe Communities Act, which will make sure that the police here in Massachusetts are focused on keeping our communities safe and not doing Donald Trump's bidding and working with federal immigration officials.
Charlie Baker said he was going to support every city that was a sanctuary city.
Charlie Baker does not support this legislation. I called on him to do it. It's one of many examples where he is not providing clear leadership and making it clear that he's going to stand up to hate and discrimination.
You're both former healthcare executives. Yep. The second Donald Trump's in, he's saying if Obamacare is repealed or gutted in some fashion, Massachusetts is going to step in and fill the hole on subsidies, other things. Isn't that leadership? That's not leadership?
So with Donald Trump, unfortunately, the best we're going to do is hold the line with the federal government. So, of course, we got to do everything we can, and our congressional delegation needs to do everything we can to hold the line with the feds. But where we are with our healthcare system is not where we need to be. It's broken. It's way too complicated for people. It's too expensive. It's not the quality care we need. We need leadership here. We need a governor who's going to say, this is what our healthcare system should look like. This is where we need to get to, and provide leadership to get us there. When we did universal health insurance coverage here in Massachusetts, that was a big deal. There was leadership there. Everybody in our community, all the healthcare stakeholders came together to make that happen. We need that type of leadership.
Well, speaking of leadership, you were chair of the Health Connector.
Yep.
And I think I got my numbers right. Thousands of people were overcharged, hundreds of millions of dollars spent, and it wasn't fixed. Hundreds of thousands, at least tens of thousands of people were put on Medicaid, Mass Health, who, without knowing eligibility. The Globe editorial page called it the Connector disaster. Are you responsible for it? You ran it.
No.
Are you responsible?
No, I'm not.
Well, how can you not be? Who is?
Well, when I was the chair of the Health Connector, which was 2 years before, it was before the ACA was implemented. I left the Patrick administration in the beginning of 2013.
So none of that's on you?
No, when I was chair, we successfully implemented health reform and gave a couple 100,000 people in this state health insurance coverage that didn't have it before.
Well, let's
I'm
say
really proud of my record managing in government. And I also, as you know, was responsible for managing the budget during the Great Recession. We did that successfully, continued to make record investments in education and infrastructure, and got the highest bond ratings in state history. Governor Baker, in the meantime, is struggling to manage the budget during a period of growth. And he's put our bond ratings at risk and is cutting funding for people who need it.
Talk about infrastructure, though. The guy Deval Patrick picked, David D'Alessandro, said they just keep kicking the can down the road year after year after year. It was Charlie Baker who invested hundreds of millions in the T, not you and the Deval Patrick administration. Isn't that true?
No, we did increase funding for the T. We increased funding to fix structurally deficient bridges across this state. I think we're not being honest right now about what our transportation infrastructure needs and other infrastructure needs are. And, we can continue to try to rearrange the chairs on the deck of the transportation Titanic. But if that's all we do, all we're going to get is more efficient seating on a sinking ship. We got to manage better, but we also need to be honest about what we need for the transportation system of the future.
And one of the things I think you think we need is money. I know you support the millionaire's tax. It'll be on the budget ballot in 2018. Do we need a tax increase between now and 2018 to meet the needs of the people that you think are being unmet?
I think the ballot question in 2018 is what I support as the next step in terms of new revenue for the state.
So no tax hikes in between?
No.
You
I don't think so.
them. How about, very quickly, how about this legislative pay raise that Baker vetoed and the Democrats in the legislature overrode his veto for increases as much as 40+% for mostly Democratic legislators and leaders? Would you have vetoed it?
I would have vetoed it. I think the question of what the appropriate level of pay is a legitimate question that should be debated. My concern was with the process. There wasn't enough vetting, and it wasn't an informed enough process.
I hope we see a lot in the next couple of years, Jay.
Thank you very
so
much.
Good luck.
Thanks
and
for having me.
Congratulations on your candidacy.